Special guest today, Chairman of the Town of Islip Republican Party, Frank Tantone. Big win on Tuesday. A Super Bowl, World Series win on Tuesday, Frank. Really, congratulations on
John.
that win.
Thank you.
We were talking before the break about organizing election. It all comes down to Election Day. It really is the Super Bowl day.
You're correct.
And organizing your your getting out the vote. It's sad that we live in the greatest country in creation, and we know people who have risked their lives for this freedom, and one of the greatest rights that we have is the right to vote for our leaders. Right. And we just take, it comes and goes. Was it Election Day?
Yes, right.
And it begs the question: is there a better process? I often would joke about this. There's 7 games in the World Series, and 1 day to vote.
Yeah, I guess you're right.
I don't know if that would muddy the waters. I don't know, if you had 3 days to vote. Imagine that if you had 3 days to vote. I mean, you'd hate it.
Yeah, I don't know if I could take that, John.
Yeah, that would be a tough one. But you know what? You'd get more people out voting.
That's true.
You'd be calling those people up that next morning.
That's true.
Let's talk about the top of the ticket, Angie Carpenter. Countywide, Republicans did not do well in races that were clearly the first one that I could think of is the 6th LD, which is Karen Walutis, heavy Republican district. Should have won. Anchor was Sarah Anchor, who won in a special election. She not only beat her, she decisively beat her. How does that happen?
I gotta agree with you. I was shocked by that. For Sarah Anchor to have won in a special election, I could understand. There were certain factors there where certain groups came out and helped her to an incredible amount. But once it got back into a general election where the turnout is much larger and you can't really pinpoint your strategy as well, I was very confident that Karen Walutis, who was a great candidate, would win. I don't have an answer for that. It might be a better question for the chairman of the town of Brookhaven. But as chairman, I think we need to become more accountable and responsible for the results that happen.
And think of, we'll stay in Brookhaven. There's other 2 crucial races. It was Sue Cineo against Kate Browning, the incumbent Working Families Party member, and John Giannot against, what I would term a political hack, Calarco. Giannot, kind of like a Croce figure, hometown guy, hometown name, very popular, businessman. Again, the Republican Party is not bringing in old, politicians coming in for another run. Sue Cineo, community activist, insurance broker, mom, hardworking, really was looking strong, got the independence line. All signs were going her way, even though Kate Browning polls very well. Likable. My buddy Larry Kelly likened her to Obama. Kind of like a guy, nice guy. You just don't want him, making decisions.
Right. Okay. And keep repeating it. It just gets down to just grassroots hard work. I don't know what happened in those campaigns. Obviously, I was a little distracted with what I had on my plate. But again, accountability. I mean, those races are being run from at the county level. I don't know all the intricacies of mistakes that might have been made. I don't want to point fingers at people, but people have to be accountable for results.
And you want to know something? When you think of Brookhaven, quote unquote Crookhaven, almost suffering the same cloud as the Islip town with McGowan. You've got this criminal, aspect to it, backroom deals, patronage, you name it. I'm trying to think, was Powell before McGowan?
Before, yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
So it's taken them a lot longer to recoup here. I mean, Brookhaven was even a stronger Republican stronghold than it was Islip, wasn't it?
No, we never like to admit that in Islip. Come on. You're not going to get me to say that, John.
I mean, you really turned it around. What's Garcia?
Again,
Jesse Garcia, is he the second? I mean, how many?
Jesse is not the first chairman after Powell.
Okay.
So there was one other person in between. I think it was Gene Gerard, if I remember correctly. But we're going back a ways at that point. I've always said I don't
And Jesse's a young guy.
Yeah, but I don't know a lot about the intricacies of Brookhaven politics.
Right.
It's really convoluted, so I wouldn't even comment, frankly.
And in fact, rumor has it, Walter said, you know what, I'm staying. This is again just from my little vine. It's certainly not from you at all. Walter says, you know what, I'm not even talking to I'm not even going to talk to the county chair. I'm running my own race. And sure enough, he had a big victory against Cardinale. One thing that surprised me, and again, I don't expect you to have watched this race, is Wilkinson out in East Hampton. This guy, talk about a non-politician who wants to just clean up a bad situation. This guy barely squeaks by and gave the taxpayers a 17% tax cut last year. Now, how does that happen?
There's no explanation for that. That's insanity.
That reminds me of Churchill. When he beat the Nazis, he comes back and they don't reelect him.
Right. Yeah, no, yeah. I did see that race a little bit, and I was shocked by that too. It was amazing.
Jeez, I tell you. Okay, where do we go from here, Frank? Angie Carpenter, real quick.
Sure.
She's a hometown person. She's Islip.
Angie, well, let me speak about Angie and Islip. Okay. Angie, we would have loved to have done better for Angie and Islip, but what your listeners should know is that for at least 3 or 4 days leading up to Election Day, the Boulogne and Nolan team, every morning in the Oakdale train station, 100 paid campaign workers or so would get off the train from New York City and report directly to Nolan headquarters in Oakdale. They were given their marching orders at least once by Boulogne and at least once by Chairman Schaefer. And then they were just sent out into areas where they were told to just get people to vote. Now, that's not a bad thing to get people to vote, but when you have to import paid workers because you don't have the support, it's a little bit ironic because if people recall, the biggest shot that Phil Nolan fired at Tom Croce was that he wasn't a resident of Islip long enough to be the supervisor, yet here's Phil Nolan paying non-residents to come in and do his dirty work for him. So again, the hypocrisy of these career politicians just shines through.
Oh, you have thick skin, Frank. Thick skin, folks. If you're just joining us, Frank Tantone, chairman of the Town of Islip Republican Party, with us. Big victory on Tuesday. We're going to be right back with closing statements. Where does the county go from here? Where does the Town of Islip go from here after these big wins? We'll be back right after this. Big winner, Coach Tantone, on Tuesday night brings home a huge victory for the Town of Islip and the Republican Party. Of course, he's the chairman of the Town of Islip Republican Party. Countywide, not happy. I think anybody who's a Republican, a strong, family Republican, can't be happy with the turnout countywide.
No.
If you can implement some of the things that you did in Islip and have been doing in Islip, this didn't happen overnight. You didn't just get here.
No, I've been chairman almost 3 years now, and the movement to change things is at least 4. So,
and willing to take some chances on a Silmy,
Absolutely.
Virtual unknown. Trish Bergen now, young star Republican. I don't think she's a true Republican. I mean, she has some liberal tendencies. I know her husband's a big lib. He actually told me. He says, "Gomez, I'm a liberal." But you know what? She's strong. She's strong-willed. Good on her. Good on her feet. She's a bulldog.
One of the things that we have in the Republican Party is that, in my opinion, is we're a little bit hypercritical of ourselves. We're constantly searching for these perfect candidates, and we let the real good ones go because they have one blemish. We're never going to find the perfect candidate. We have to just get somebody who we know is a good person and count on them to do the right thing.
Right. Now, now that you have the town, what's your job as you see it as far as town leader?
My job now is to solidify the town. Yes, we have been fortunate enough to get the elected officials back. But now the real work starts. Yeah. Now they actually have to govern and do a good job. When that happens, which I'm sure it will, one of the things I said all along, too, was the trick to Tom Croce was to get him elected. I have no doubt he will be a phenomenal supervisor, maybe the best we've ever had, because of his resume, because of his integrity, because of he's very intelligent man. So now that he's there, I have every confidence in the world that he will be there for as long as he wants to be there.
Yeah, that's great. And that's great news. Now, what's his first day? I mean, is he going through resumes? Is he going to clean house? What does he do?
That's a great question, because the rumors that fly fast and furious at this point. Those people who know me, who know Tom, there will be no vindictive mass firings of people. It's just not the way we do things. People who are competent in their jobs can be safe in their jobs, regardless of party affiliation. Many years ago, I learned from former Chairman Anthony Pace that the politics stays with the politics and the government stays with the government as much as you possibly can.
Right.
So the bottom line to that is, will there be some turnover? Of course there will be. There'll be people who leave voluntarily. But it's like any other job. You hire people who come to you recommended. So yes, there will be some turnover. Yes, there will be some Republicans and conservatives who are hired, but there will not be Democrats who are fired just because they're Democrats. It's just, if they're doing their job, they should feel confident that they'll be okay.
Two major issues that face, I think, a town of Islip resident is the property tax and perhaps a business owner who can't, who might buy a piece of property or sign a lease, but it takes him or her 8 to 10 or 12 months to open the door for business and start, ringing the cash register.
Right.
Property taxes as school. Is there anything, Tom Croce, is there anything you can do at the town level to slice that number?
Absolutely. One of the initiatives that we'll begin to work on right away will be to make the permitting process, make the licensing process, the review process a lot easier in the town of Islip. The quicker a business opens up, or quicker a building gets built in the town of Islip, the quicker it goes on the tax rolls. And taxes are a very involved issue. And one of the things that many people have to understand is industrial development, commercial development is very much a way to bring in revenue without putting children in the school district. And it really is a very effective way to subsidize that school tax bill.
Right.
The best example in the town of Islip is Hauppauge. The Hauppauge industrial area subsidizes the school district to the point where people who live in the town of Islip in the Hauppauge school district enjoy a very, well, I don't want to say a reasonable tax bill, but their tax bill is a little bit more palatable than some of the other areas, like where we are right now in Bayport, who unfortunately does not have a lot of commercial development, and I think their school districts suffer for it.
Oh, it's not joined? It's not all put into one pot? Like, in other words, people who live in Bayport, they don't gain as far as the tax burden from the MacArthur Airport or anything like that.
No, I'm talking specifically about school tax now.
Yeah,
so no, the answer is the school tax portion of your tax bill, which is like 65% of your tax bill,
right,
is earmarked and just for that particular school district. So when the school tax bill part of your commercial development is in, let's use Bayport, that money goes into the pool for the Bayport School District, but yet obviously that property is not putting any children in the school district.
Yeah.
It's a win-win for the school district.
Yeah, sure. Oh, well, that's nice to hear. And I also had Al Graff on the program a few weeks back talking about his electricity thing.
Yes.
I'm telling you, I think that's. I told him, I said, Al, if you get that passed, and we can actually see the reduction here on Long Island as far as our utility bill, you're in forever, pal.
Well, that's funny you mentioned Al, because Al was one of the original 6 or so of us who said we have to change this committee. And one of the things, and I think you'll see in Al's behavior, is you have to be willing to go out on a limb. You have to be willing to do something that, very honestly, might upset a few people. Yeah. I know there's a senator upstate in New York who's not too happy with Al's electricity proposal, but so be it.
Yeah,
Al represents the people of the Fifth, and that's what he's that's what he's worried about.
If you could just get him to stop smoking, then I think. Well, anyway, Frank, thanks so much for stopping by. I know you've got a very busy schedule. Well-deserved victory. I'll tell you, I think you should write a playbook for it and pass it out for the rest of the darn county.
Well, thanks, John.
And there you have it. The town of Islip turns Republican. Chairman Frank Tantone with the win. Let's just hope they do something with it. See you next week.